it seems to me extraordinary that nobody knew. Surely you do background checks, particularly for going into an area where you are fully aware that you might be dealing with terrorist entities, and that at the very least you might be breaking sanctions rules, let alone dealing with prescribed terrorist organisations.
And you wouldn't be allowed to film in Gaza without permission from Hamas.
Well, exactly. So it seems to me that somebody must have known that there was some connection to the government of Gaza at the time, which was Hamas, of course. So from this perspective, it beggars belief. So we have to wait to see, Julia, don't we, to see what comes out into this report. But I think the BBC have got a legal case to answer when it comes to potential breach of British law in terms of this discussion.
Yeah.
And in terms of this documentary. It seems that they have gone beyond what the law allows, and I'd be quite interested to see how they try and spin their way out of that one.
Well, indeed, and again, for me, I find it absolutely extraordinary that there was a broadcasting, a pre-screening within BBC, which was of this documentary, was seen by the chief executive of BBC News and Current Affairs, that's Deborah Turness, and Joe Carr, the BBC's head of current affairs. And did they say, so who is this kid then? Did anyone up the ranks say, who is this kid? And no, either people knew and they lied about it, or they didn't know and didn't do the cursory checks, or they did know, and yeah, everyone in the BBC knew this kid was the son of a Hamas official and didn't think it was an issue. Any one of those three options is very bad, and heads at whether it's the lowest, middle ranking or upper levels, heads need to roll, don't they? People need to be fired for this.
Yeah, I think this is unsustainable given given what we know already about this case. As you say, of those three options, none of them are particularly palatable, and the ignorance option doesn't fly really, because when it comes to breaking sanctions rules, ignorance is no excuse. Yeah. You have to make stringent checks when it comes to dealing with sanctioned entities or people to make sure that you are complying, even if you don't think there's a case to answer from the very beginning. You have to show you've gone through the process. So something's gone wrong with the BBC's processes. And given that this is such a high-profile case, it seems incredible that we wouldn't have, some sort of action taken that would see heads roll afterwards. But we'll have to wait to see, won't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I have to say, I mean, I watched the documentary, and documentary, frankly, is rather a generous word. Yes. I mean, it was, other than, of course, all the rubble. It was more like sort of, a travel, showcase, if you ask. It just wasn't at all what I would expect from the BBC when I'm being forced to pay the wages of everyone involved. And in fact, some of my money, some of everyone's money watching and listening to this has gone to Hamas as a result. And last time I looked, that was a crime.
Exactly. And this is the whole point. This is the national broadcaster who's is a taxpayer-funded institution, and therefore it is indeed our money that's ultimately being fungibly put over into other people's pockets. Yep. And so it is a different setup to other channels in this regard, none of whom would be allowed to do this either, in my view. No, but exactly. The BBC is a special case here. And doesn't it just go down to the point that the BBC has just lost this trust, all the trust it once had? It's been chipped away for years, as we all know, but it's really come to the fore after October the 7th. We've seen the BBC in all its ugliness, and it strikes me that it's very difficult to see a way for the BBC to come back from this.
Well, exactly.